There are 24 episodes of 16 that were banned from airing in the United States on Cartoon Network. All 91 episodes aired in Canada on Teletoon, but today I'm going to break down all 24 of the episodes that Cartoon Network felt were too mature for its younger American audience. Starting with Season 1, Episode 6, The Sushi Connection. In the episode, Caitlin is upset as she realizes she can't get a date because the lemon hat her job makes her wear is too embarrassing. Just another one of the many reasons for Caitlin to hate working at the Squeeze. She then accidentally sprays a dude with a blender. Call me crazy, but I don't think the hat is her only problem. The rest of the gang show up with their lunch, including Wyatt, who's eating sushi, which the rest of the group find disgusting. Jen tells Caitlin that the guy she has a crush on, Kyle, came by the store she works at, the Penalty Box, to buy a tennis racket. She says he's coming back later to return it, so they set up for Caitlin to accidentally run into Kyle at the store later on. But when the moment arrives for Caitlin to shoot her shot at Kyle, she accidentally whacks him with a tennis racket. You know, it's really just not Caitlin's day. But while he's dazed and confused, Jen suggests him and Caitlin go on a date, and Kyle, who clearly knows how to pick him, agrees. Caitlin is excited, but she decides she needs a dress for her date. Seems a bit dramatic for a date at the mall, but in the 16 universe, the mall is like Disney World or something. She finds a dress she loves, but she can't afford it, so Jonesy suggests she just wear the dress and keep the tags on, then return it when she's finished. Later, when Caitlin meets Kyle for her date, Jonesy and the guys realize Kyle is a guy named Dirty Donaldson, and he's actually a well-known womanizer. Basically, he's just trying to give Caitlin his Dirty Donaldson, and the gang isn't having it.
Don, that's the guy Caitlin's going out with? He's a total player.
Kyle?
Kyle Donaldson. He scored 4 cheerleaders and the coach's daughter in one summer.
So Wyatt and Jonesy spy on Caitlin as she pretends to like fish, chokes on a wasabi that was too spicy, and ends up paying for her dinner because Kyle forgot his wallet. Yeah, sure you did, bro. To make it up to her, he blindfolds her and takes her on a visit to the amusement park for a ride on the Vomit Comet. And due to the fish and the Vomit Comet, she pukes all over everyone and Kyle storms off angrily. Bro, this whole thing was your fault. Wyatt and Jonesy come cheer her up and say he was a jerk anyways. Gee, you think? But unfortunately, Jonesy's plan of returning the dress backfires, and Kate ends up having to pay for the dress and Jonesy gets fired. Meanwhile, in our B-plot, Nikki is at the khaki barn, not hard at work but hardly working, when her boss Chrissy has to leave for an emergency. She puts Nikki in charge. At first, Nikki is fine, but she finds herself way more stressed than she expected, and realizes being in charge is way tougher than she thought. But Nikki ends up putting her skill of selling clothes she hates with a smile on her face to use when she sells Kyle, aka Dirty Donaldson, a bunch of ugly clothes to make sure girls won't talk to him. Revenge is sweet. So sounds like a standard episode, but why was it banned from airing on Cartoon Network? Well, this one was banned for a reason that I won't lie is low-key hilarious. When Chrissy's name tag was shown, assistant manager is shortened to say, Ass Man. A harmless and silly joke, but Cartoon Network didn't want to air anything with a curse word in it, even if it was technically not the word ass, but actually a shortened version of the word assistant. But nonetheless, one hilarious name tag later, and we've got ourselves the very first banned in the US episode of 16. Next up is the episode 5 Finger Discount. Jen is walking away after buying a slushie at the Big Squeeze,
but realizes she forgot to pay for her drink.
Sorry about it. New store policy. All friends get free drinks.
You can't just make up policies like that.
I've been working here for 4 weeks.
Jen unleashes her inner Karen and runs off to tell her friends about the horrifying display of immorality, and her friends reveal to her that they all steal from their jobs, to which Jen is utterly disgusted.
Minimum wage revenge, dude!
Nikki!
Anyways, later on, Jen is trying on a jacket at the khaki barn, and while trying it on, she realizes the, apparently, hottest guy at the mall finally noticed her for the first time.
But he's never noticed me before. It's gotta be the jacket. So buy it. Can't be that expensive.
So after a long day of moral dilemmas and getting treated like trash by her boss, Jen decides to steal the jacket. Wow, you think you know a person, but her friends are disappointed in her, as they should
I
be.
don't believe it. You better be kidding.
What were you thinking?
What? You guys do it too? Yeah, we take like chocolate bars and stuff. You took a whole jacket.
That is whack, dude.
But anyway, she persists in getting her new jacket, carefully of course, but she can't enjoy the jacket because she's too paranoid about getting caught. So later, Jen and the gang sneak back into the store to return the jacket after hours. But the next day, her boss, Coach Halder, great character by the way, found evidence of Jen's crime on security footage.
Guess it wasn't stolen then, huh?
That's what I thought, until I saw an unauthorized entry code in the store last night, so I pulled the security tape. Got these shots nice and clear.
Lock his ass up! Lock his ass up! You're going to jail. You're going to jail.
He doesn't fire her because he respects her decision to return the jacket, but she and her friends have to spend 15 minutes in the penalty box, which is like a hockey penalty box, but he would make his employees stand in there as punishment. So yeah, this episode was banned in the United States. More specifically, this episode was banned on Cartoon Network for including the topic of shoplifting, which was seen as too adult of a topic for children. Personally, I think this episode was a great message for kids. Yeah, she did the wrong thing, but she feels guilty for what she did and does the right thing, and she also gets caught and gets punished. I think it makes sense to show kids the main characters doing the wrong thing sometimes, as a huge part of growing up in life is being faced with decisions between doing the right thing and the wrong thing, and realistically, sometimes even good people make the wrong decision, and this was a great example. But nonetheless, the episode was banned in the US. The next episode banned by Cartoon Network in the US was The Fake Date, the 11th episode of the series, and it revolves around Jen desperate for the attention of a coworker she likes. Seems like a running theme in this show. Caitlin suggests that he takes a fake date to their job staff party to make him jealous. A long line of dudes show up to be Jen's date, interviewed by Caitlin and judged from afar by Jen.
Listen up. Suitability for Jen will be judged on your interview with me and your answer to a skill testing question. Oh, and hygiene is important too.
Ew.
Most of them fail, but surprisingly, Jude impresses them with his charm and his gentleman demeanor, and Jen ends up choosing Jude as her fake date. Jen takes Jude to the penalty box staff party, but she's a horrible date, caring more about if her crush is paying attention to her than Jude. So Jude turns his attention to the free energy drinks being offered, and he ends up bouncing off the walls. He happens upon a tennis ball shooter, turns it on, and the machine fires tennis balls through the store, pretty much destroying the entire night for everybody. Jen dumps him, but her friends make her realize it was her fault for not paying him any attention.
Dude, it's Caitlin's for setting the whole thing up.
Wait a minute. I didn't spend the whole night being mean to Jude.
Yeah, Jen. I think you owe Jude an apology.
She makes it up to Jude for being a bad date by buying him a taco. Jen sees her crush and asks him flat out why he's not interested, and she finds out he has a girlfriend. Jen is overjoyed that this is the reason he wasn't interested, as it protects her ego, but then wonders what this girl has that she doesn't. In our subplot, Jonesy and Nikki begin arguing about a line in a movie that they both remember differently, so they go to the movies to find out who's right. But after the movie, they get in a fight over the elevator buttons and end up getting stuck in the elevator. They're stuck for a while, and we find out Jonesy is claustrophobic, which doesn't mean he has a fear of Santa Claus, but a fear of tight, closed spaces. Help! But they're eventually saved by Ron, the security guard. Jonesy is so happy he devotes a part of his book to Ron. This episode wasn't banned for reasons as obvious as some others, especially some we're going to get into in a little bit, but it went unaired on Cartoon Network in the US due to suggestive dialogue. There's a couple of jokes that were vaguely sexual, and the word thong is used a few times in the argument about the movie line.
He says, you just kicked the thong guy.
That is so dumb. Why would he say that?
Because he just kicked the guy who was wearing the thong.
Admit it, you're wrong.
Nothing crazy, but enough for Cartoon Network to put the kibosh on the episode airing in the US, although it was briefly available to watch on the Cartoon Network website. Next up is the episode Cecile B. Delusion. Jonesy's latest job is an assistant for a TV channel, WView-TV, who is shooting a spot at the mall. They need more shots, but the reporter is ready to leave, so Jonesy volunteers to take more shots for them. And the cameraman reluctantly gives Jonesy his camera. Shortly after, Jonesy is using the camera to film his friends, although none of them are enthused about the idea of being on camera. Well, except Jude, who's working at Stick It, a fast food chain. Jude and Jonesy decide to film a cooking show with the camera, but Jonesy is bored by the slow pace of the cooking. He convinces Jude to cook faster by turning up the heat, and a fire breaks out. Jude puts the fire out and Jonesy films him putting out the fire. The grill won't be fixed for a week, so Jude starts hosting the show with Jonesy in the meantime. Jonesy and Jude bounce between different show ideas all day, including a reality cop show, while Wyatt is upset because he's failing gym class. They land on the idea to film a prank show, and Jonesy decides their victim will be Nikki, with the prank being Caitlin turning her into a girly girl with a makeover, against Nikki's wishes. They use a hidden camera to film Nikki getting a wax and trying on a bikini. Caitlin's convincing Nikki to do all of these things, and while Nikki is struggling to get her bikini off, Jonesy tries to lower from the vent to get a better shot. But the vent breaks when Wyatt opens it, as he was sent by Jen to save Nikki. Nikki is, obviously pissed at her friends and throws hangers at them. Jonesy gets fired for misusing the camera, breaking it, and using it for literally every other reason other than what his job asked him to do with it. Jonesy realizes he spilled something on his arm, and Caitlin and Nikki send him to the spa to get it removed. And now Nikki gets to enjoy the sweet smell of karma and follow Jonesy to the spa to watch him get a wax. The episode was banned on Cartoon Network US due to Jonesy filming Nikki in a bikini at the spa without her permission, which is creepy, to say the least. The scene of Nikki trying to get the bikini off alone probably would have been enough to get this banned on kids' TV in the US, but the theme of filming without consent pretty much sealed the deal of this never seeing the light of day on Cartoon Network. The next episode Cartoon Network felt was too mature to air to its younger audience was Enter the Dragon. The gang is at the big squeeze, and the guys are super excited for a new martial arts movie coming out, Enter the Dragon. But they're surprised to see their female friend counterparts aren't excited at all, and not only that, they're all acting a bit unusual. Caitlin is snapping on everyone, Nikki is being super nice, that's weird, and Jen has really bad stomach cramps. The guys are concerned, not only because the girls are acting weird, but because the girls have the tickets for the movie that they need.
I don't get girls. One of them being moody is pretty much the norm, but all three?
Meanwhile, Jen puts herself in the penalty box herself for borrowing a hot water bottle. Coach Halder is confused and bewildered on why she would punish herself, but when he finds out the water bottle was to soothe her stomach cramps, he puts two and two together and evacuates the area immediately. Jen, Nikki, and Caitlin realize their menstrual cycles have synced up, and they're happy about this, as this happens to women when they grow closer.
Is it your time of the month? Mine too!
Meanwhile, the boys still don't have the tickets, and they can't talk to the girls to get them because every time they try, things go bad.
Looking forward to seeing Dragon Thunder tonight?
Sure, but first, chocolate. If I could marry this chocolate bar, I would.
Back at the mall pharmacy, Jen, Caitlin, and Nikki buy muscle relaxants, relaxing tea, chocolate, and
Tampons!
Jonesy, Wyatt, and Jude go through with a big mission to get the tickets out of the girls' bags. They don't know which one has them, so they each sneak one bag from each girl and look for the tickets, but instead they all find tampons, and suddenly it all made sense to them why the girls have been acting so,
How come none of you respect my work ethic?
A pretty funny episode, as always, but unfortunately this episode was never aired on Cartoon Network in the United States. The reason being obviously because the episode revolves around periods and menstruation cycles, which Cartoon Network felt was too mature for its younger audience. There's a lot of banned episodes in the US of 16, but this episode proves that the show wasn't being risque just for the purpose of shock value. 16 was dedicated to teaching valuable lessons and writing fun, actually relatable stories for its teenage audience, whether it be boys or girls. It wasn't always just Jonesy seeing Jen naked, and trust me, that happened a lot on this show. It was also more complex issues like this that don't get brought up a lot in animation. Unfortunately, as I mentioned before, while these topics were great for the teenage audience it targeted on Teletoon, they were considered a little too far for Cartoon Network's slightly younger audience. So Enter the Dragon joins the list of 16 episodes banned in the US, but it was a pretty good watch. The next episode to be banned on Cartoon Network was It's Always Courtney, Courtney, Courtney. The title is a nod to the infamous Brady Bunch line, It's Always Marsha, 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 from Jan, who was sick of her sister Marsha getting all the attention. The episode is about the same, with Jen being sick of everyone loving her sister Courtney more than her, including her own friend. Jen's eating nachos, stressed out because her sister Courtney is coming, and she's always been more well-liked than her.
Make that Jen's prettier, does everything better than me. Everybody loves her more, older sister.
I'm Courtney.
And now all of Jen's guy friends have continued the tradition of Jen's friends liking her sister more than her. It continues when Caitlin instantly loves Courtney because she takes her shopping and compliments her top. Courtney then gets Nikki to like her by complimenting her on working to change the khaki barn from the inside. So now that's all of Jen's friends that love Courtney, and Jen is pissed. The whole group, except for Jen, is gathered at the coffee shop and listening to Courtney tell all the embarrassing stories about her little sister Jen's childhood. She also keeps calling her by her childhood nickname Flash, which makes Jen more mad.
Flash, we've all had embarrassing moments.
Don't call me Flash!
But when you consider the insane amount of times Jen has, flashed the other characters in this show, maybe not the craziest nickname. Courtney convinces the gang to go to the club with her tonight. They're all underage, but it's cool because Courtney knows how to make fake IDs. Of course she does. Jen is worried that they'll get in trouble, but is also freaking out about everyone thinking she's a nag and Courtney is more fun. So later, Jen tries to prove she's more fun than her sister by showing up to the club in a tight pink dress and a new hairdo. But while she's dancing, her straps come off. and everyone sees her boobs. Jen runs off embarrassed, and Courtney finds it hilarious, but Jen's friends are now upset with Courtney for her lack of sensitivity for her sister and their friend Jen. The group is about to get in trouble, but Courtney turns her back on the crew, showing her real ID and saying she's not with them. Courtney and Jen have a talk and realize they're both a bit jealous of each other, and agree to act more like sisters from now on. Then they come up with a scheme to get the gang out of mall jail, which includes blackmailing Ron, the security guard, with a bikini pic of him they found earlier.
What you doing out here with all this ass? Double cheeked up on a Thursday afternoon.
Another funny episode with some nice character development and a compelling storyline, but unfortunately the episode is also another episode that never saw the light of day in the United States. Cartoon Network chose not to air the episode for a couple of reasons, the first being that they felt the topic of fake IDs was setting a bad example for kids. But the other reason, and probably bigger reason this episode was banned on Cartoon Network US, is because of the scene where Jen's boobs fall out of her dress. This is one of the several times that Jen's body has been exposed during the show, and let the record show that her stepbrother Jonesy was there for every single one. That's true commitment right there, Jonesy.